My dance. I started dancing when I was 7 years old, and I've never stopped dancing. One of the things that inspired me to continue dancing and teaching Kuduro and Afro House is how excited people seem to be when they take my classes. Usually I like to teach foundation because foundation is something that inspires me much more than what we are currently doing. Most of the moves that we do for Kuduro or Afro House are moves that were already created many years ago. Many years ago means like 5 years, 10 years ago. And recently, there's been few moves that really actually have more meaning. Most of the steps are actually variations of moves that were done in the 90s. But the question is, how different do they really look from one another? And that is what I want to explain and put myself in the position of how I create my AfroKanza dance. So usually when I will speak of myself as an example, usually when I create a movement or I create a choreography, I'm usually using the moves from the beginning of the creation of the Kuduro Foundation, and with some mix of moves that have been done now. The reason why I do this mix is to stay. The reason why I do this mix is obviously to stay relevant. From 2012 to 2016, I had been working a lot on my self-improvement. Kuduro is constantly evolving, and there are many moves that are always popping up. This is due to because there are many steps that come out of traditional dance, and most of these dances are also being discovered. Angola is a place where we went through civil war for a long time, so people could not travel as much as we're traveling now. And it feels almost as if the more freedom we feel to move, the more discovery we find. And this culture is so diverse that you will always find something new to learn in every places that you go, in every city that you visit. And more people love to come to Luanda because Luanda is the place where you will get most of the updated things in terms of even technology or anything in terms of you want to show something for the culture in the highest level possible. So I have been creating my dance and teaching in studios in Angola, and I created my own space to teach people. And I had the opportunity to travel outside of Angola. And I would say when I create my choreographies, I usually use foundation and I use the trendy moves, obviously to stay relevant. When I created my dance, AfroKanza, was with the intention of showing how you can use the roots without modifying it too much. This came as an idea when I was teaching my online students and my students when I traveled. I felt that there was so much difference when I taught in Angola and when I taught people in the US or Europe. The people outside of Angola usually they depend on counts, and they depend a lot on how you do the step authentically on the beat. And in Angola, people learn by watching and by the feeling. So it's a very different ways that you will have to find to teach people or get people to do the step correctly. So because of these two different things, based on my 10-year experience of teaching, I came up with AfroKanza. So AfroKanza is not really just a dance movement, but it's also a way of teaching. A way of teaching people how to get the move as fast as possible. I wanted to find a way that I could teach people quickly in a way that they can understand how to do the movement properly. But I thought of many ways, and I said, maybe I should change the way I do the moves. But then I knew that instead of me doing that, why not show? So this is where everything began. So in order for me to teach people my AfroKanza dance, I needed to teach myself how to perfect it. So I started to film. I started to make my short films of dance, and I started to do discovery because I've always loved to record myself. So one day I thought very deeply on my dance, and I began to decide to just not post myself dancing as much, because usually as dancers we depend on posting ourselves, showing our talent as much as possible to get exposure, so that hopefully we get jobs. But one thing that I understood through this is that sometimes when you expose yourself too much, because we deal with dancing, other professional dancers obviously will learn what you do, and people will also learn how you do. And when people learn what you do and how you do, it doesn't become as a surprise anymore, because dance, you can learn dancing by watching. So it's a very risky way of marketing yourself as a dancer when you have to dance to promote your dance, because people can actually just learn from the promotion you're actually doing and not actually come to your class, because we end up posting so many videos of us that people will already know what we're going to do, what we are going to do if they come to take our class. People will start to think, and I asked myself, do actors constantly post themselves? Do musicians constantly post themselves? Do other professionals or even architectures, like other jobs, I would say, in English is kind of tricky. Do they constantly post themselves like we dancers do? I don't think so. So I've always been on social media. I've always depended on social media to showcase my work so that I could get jobs and get booked. But that was also a trap, because I realized that every time I posted videos of my full out dance, I would get many views, but I didn't get jobs. And whenever I promoted classes, people would ask me, what am I going to teach? But I would ask myself, you already know what I teach. It's Kuduro. But they would feel overwhelmed by how I dance on my solo dance videos, and they thought that maybe I would teach them that difficult way that I dance. So all this mix of things comes in my mind, and this all explains how I created AfroKanza. So I took a huge risk of not making videos like I used to, and just stopped posting and started working on myself for about 3 years now without posting as much. And I've just been working on me to perfect my dance, to perfect my Kuduro and Afro House in a different way, because I like to dance Kuduro and Afro House big. I don't like to dance small. I like to give it like full 100% when I dance my body. If I'm not tired, then it doesn't count. I need to be tired. I almost feel like I punish my body in a way that, in a good way, that I feel extremely tired and worked out. That's what I like to do, because the foundation of Kuduro is like when we started doing Kuduro underground, like the underground style, which comes from the influences of electronic music here in Angola. That is how I like to dance. So when I'm in my moment for AfroKanza, throughout these years that I've been working on myself, I discovered that I need to have story in my dance. So I started to create and write synopses of what I need to do for every video that I was creating for AfroKanza. So I would do these stories and just dance on top of these stories. And this is how Break Hard Angola came to mind. And I said, okay, now I do AfroKanza. I need a way to distinguish what I do for my dance. So I need to create stories. So I started to create stories, and these stories had name. The main name is Break Hard Angola. Why Break Hard Angola? Because in the 90s and the 80s, we used to say si parti. Si parti means break yourself. In those times, we didn't usually call ourselves kuduristas or let's dance kuduro or let's dance. We'll just say for si parti, like I'm gonna break myself. So when you do that, it's like you're gonna do your really best and you're gonna go full out and you're gonna dance your heart out, you know, to your heart content. So I said, okay, I want to name my films the main title of this series, Break Hard Angola, and that's how Break Hard Angola came to life. And I started to create so many stories, and not only about me, I started to create about other people as well. So Break Hard Angola now is my series where I show how I set up my like different places and scenarios that I'm gonna dance, so that I can not only just show my dance, but I want the visuals, how people can actually enjoy my dance like I'm in a Hollywood movie. I've always dreamed of being in a film movie or in a film set, and just being part of something big, but that really never came into, because I have always been trying to improve myself and work on my own, and just being outside of Africa, Angola is so hard and expensive. So I couldn't be in every audition to have this dream come true. But I had the opportunity to get some money through my dance work and buy myself cameras. So this is where my journey began. I started to record myself, doing everything on my own, set the lights, set the places. It's so hard to find a very decent place that would look cinematic in Angola to actually record yourself dancing, because there aren't many beautiful sites for you to do that. And if there are, it sometimes can be risky for you to be outside with the camera. So I started to create my own scenarios at places I felt safe. I would see and just explore different places, and I would use the lighting. I would use the scenario or create something around me to do a cinematic video. The AfroKanza concept is to show your dance at its highest level. It's not only just a dance style, but it's a way that you show your dance at its highest level. So since I wanted to show my dance always at its highest level, I wanted it to be at the highest quality possible. So I started to use the best lenses and cameras I have to create these visuals. And after I would dance, I would actually do a short documentary explaining a talking head where I explain what I've been doing, how I do what I do. That would be in Portuguese or in English. And this was the beginning of me actually evolving from just a regular professional dancer into a producer dancer through the concept of AfroKanza and Break Hard Angola. Because the biggest fear a dancer can have is for you to always love what you do but never really make it to anywhere. Like you will get stuck and not making enough money. I wanted to depend on my skills. I wanted to depend on my dancing for a living only, but it wasn't enough. Because I could see that's why the other artists in the world get more paid than dancers, because they don't usually show what they do in their profession like us dancers do in our daily basis. We are constantly showcasing for free what we do. And that, for a human mind, can be exhausting at some point. People will know everything that you are going to do. A dance and art should be a surprise, should always be something amazing to see, like you are seeing it for the first time. That's why dancers work so much to always come up with different concepts of how they're gonna show their dance. So this is what I found, because technology is evolving so fast, and nowadays we are all learning dancing from other platforms and the internet, and people are learning dance so fast that most of the people now don't go to dance academies to learn how to dance. They can just learn from home. I believe that if I show my dance where it should be, then my career will be at its highest and most preserved level. And this is Break Hard Angola.
Bom dia, Fred. Trabalho tudo aqui. Foste bar.
Tudo bem?
Obrigado. E eu ouvi falar de um concurso. Eu, como quero participar, eu vim pedir tua ajuda.
Só que eu tô bombado, tem que esperar.
Não
Também tô com roupa de trabalho.
Vamos ensaiar assim, não faz mal.
Tá bem, deixa eu despachar o carro. Vamos ensaiar.
Sim.
Você já viu o quê?
Eu vi um som básico. Tem preferido com a coluna.
Você sabe que para além de mecânico, também sou dançarino e pessoa de dança.
Assim.
Vamos lá então ensaiar.
Vamos ensaiar.
Essa cena. Como é que é?
É só
Tudo
você,
bem?
tá tudo bem?
Estás triste?
Esse mambo aqui tem o medo da batalha.
O que tem a batalha?
Tem os duros também.
Tem concorrentes fortes. Mas ouvi dizer que estás nas finais.
Estou nas finais.
Mas se estás nas finais, a tua preocupação não será mais essas 6 horas. Viste como? Se estás nas finais é porque és forte, não é isso?
Sim,
É porque estás qualificado para o concurso. Então, eu por mim, porque tens que ir lá e mostrar o teu melhor. Mostrar o mesmo que você mostrou no princípio. Fazendo o quê? Conhecendo os teus inimigos. Tens que conhecer o teu adversário. Porque você é forte e você é bom. Se estás aqui, os júris sabem por que chegaste até aqui.
Sim.
Então, ao correr, tens que procurar estar sempre na minha linha. 2, sai. 1, 2, 3.